Welcome, everybody, to today's webinar, Introduction to Tribal Leadership, Noble Cause and Core Values. My name is Carolyn Trimmer, and we have Hector Brito with us today, as well as Marco. Everybody knows Marco, loves Marco. One of the things that we've got going on is what we call the Costa Rica Project, and we'd love everybody to go out and visit our developing website, thecostaricaproject.com. And in our global initiative to, well, we have a noble cause, I'd like to just say it. We're bonded by our passion to create a legacy of conscious and healthy living. And with this global initiative, we have adopted a book called Tribal Leadership. And so this webinar series is to go through what key words and concepts that are introduced in this book and see how we might put application in. I think the subtitle for the book here, let's see. You know what? I sure hope I've got this thing set up correctly. I got to go to the next slide here. Hold on. Sorry. There we are. Leveraging natural groups to build a thriving organization is the subtitle of this book we're referring to, Tribal Leadership. And actually, we can get this book on audiobook for free, and there showing on the screen is the link. It's about.zappos.com/tribal. And so as we make our way through the series, last week we went into a full-blown introduction and began to talk about tribal stages as it is outlined in the book. And today we're going to be talking about noble cause and core values. And then next week we're going to dive in more into the concept of a triad and triad networking. Then we're going to break for a week and then come back with another 2-week series that continues to discuss tribal leadership. So I want to give a couple of thank yous out to Marco, who is helping us with the technical side of this webinar today, as well as Brittany Johnson, and she has been in the background helping us immensely to make this webinar happen. So I want to thank you both for joining us, and for each one of you for stepping up and joining us in this project that we have. That we just have a lot of expectation, maybe, or hope that we're going to be able to become a really tight tribe and be able to do these wonderful projects that we see. There's so many people out there right now that are talking about coming together in community, and we're just doing our part. So thank you again for joining us. I'm going to turn it over now to Hector, and he is going to take us through this subject matter today of noble cause and core values. Hector?
Well, hello, everybody. So what a noble cause is exactly what it means. Something that is so noble, something that is so great that it's not a statement, it is a cause. I seen a movie, one of those dramatic movies where the protagonist is about to get killed, and the bad guy is laughing at his power because he's taunting the protagonist, and he says that I'm going to kill you, and with you dies hope. He says, you can kill the man, but you can never kill the cause. Somebody else will rise. And that's a very powerful statement. You can kill a human. Not that we're into that, but you can never destroy the cause. And it's just something to reflect for just a moment. Of all the participants that we have today, Is there anybody here that is unfamiliar with this book, that has not read it or heard about it before? Okay, thank you. All right, very good. So last week we covered an introduction to basically everything that we were going to cover, and now we're going to address what is a noble cause. And the noble cause in itself is the thing that takes your breath away. It is that moment that really caused us to launch forward, as Carolyn was talking about. We experienced, 65 of us as students of Dr. Morse, experienced a moment that we are trying to capture, maintain, and foster so that we can continue to enjoy that as practitioners of something that we have a passion for. So this is our noble cause, is the recreation of this environment. Now, the hard part is, how do you put that into words? How do you make a noble cause have enough life of itself that it moves and we create a legacy? So the legacy comes as something that you leave behind. But in order for you to leave something behind, you got to build something. So we want to break it down in smaller portions, bite-sized pieces that we can wrap our heads around it. And that's our intent with this webinar. So a tribal culture is like any other culture. It is an environment that people speak, think, and behave in such a way that everything's congruent with what they are intending to do, right? And, excuse me. So the noble cause is the very heartbeat, it's the blood or the spirit of this particular group, whatever the group may be. But you have to have a vision in order as to where you want to go. You have to have an intention as to what you want to create, and you have to have then a means by which you make the other two happen. And the easiest way to think of a noble cause is the thing that we can all agree to align. Not that we have to have 100% agreement, but that we have an alignment. An alignment is we're all heading in one direction, and we're all in agreement that that is the direction we're going to go. That's different than saying, oh, everybody has to sign on the dotted line. You agreed to this. That's more of, I guess, dictatorship, if you will. And so in order to create these things, let's think of, vision. Let me just talk about the vision real quick, because the vision gives birth to everything else. Think of those movies, if you will, or the book that you have read that talks about somebody receiving a vision, right? Like a divine encounter. You leave your body, you go into this place, and it's so real that it's surreal. So let's look at a vision from that position. The vision is something that you believe happened, and now you want to create it. Out of that comes passion. The passion because you've seen it, the motivation because you believe it, and the direction is from the very vision you had. And that is, all of those put together, repeated over time, is what actually gives you purpose. Purpose is not something that you discover on your own and then you go, okay, now I got all of this. Vision, if a man can imagine it If a man can see it in his mind, then he can create it. And when I say man, I'm talking about mankind. So passion. Passion is the encouragement, and I'm not talking about encouraging somebody else, but that which is inside of you. And passion is that self-commitment to follow through, whether you fail or not. Passion is that your personal self-commitment to you. When things go wrong, as Steve Jobs has said, because it will go wrong, it'll wake you up. It'll make you move. Passion is the inner drive. So if passion is the inner drive, then what is motivation? Well, they're related because motivation is passion in action. A lot of people are passionate about a lot of things, but they don't take any action on it. And, you know, motivation is your personal activity that you take on a daily basis, on a weekly basis, to make your passion come to life. That is why we say that motivation is passion in action. So just capture that for just a moment. If you have a vision, the difference in between having a vision and just being a dreamer is that a lot of people dream and have great ideas, but don't put them into action. So we're trying to break these down into smaller steps. Now, having a vision, having passion, and we could be passionate about a lot of things and get screamy and roll, you know, like a dog is passionate about laying down and he goes in a circle and he goes nowhere, chasing his own tail. You have to have a real good direction. And a direction is your roadmap. You know what's really interesting about a roadmap? All of us have traveled to a certain degree more than others, but you never consider when you're making a plan to go somewhere about the details of that roadmap, of that road trip. You don't know the corners. You don't know the streets where you're going to be. You just have a good general idea where you're going to go. You have a destination, and you take that destination from where you're at, and you take off. And in the process, you actually enjoy some of those encounters, and others you'll remember for a very long time, whether you want to or not. But that's just part of the process. So a roadmap is, in fact, part of the beautiful journey that we take. That's where you build memories. Now, let's talk about purpose. Purpose is more than just the capacity to be focused on something, to create a cause. It is a mission. It is something bigger. But look, purpose is actually, I like a lot of the etymology, so I'm going to break it down for you a little bit more. When it comes to having purpose, it's what brings you back to the full circle. The word purpose is actually comes from a couple different languages. It's to propose. To propose is to put forth, to put in a place, an intention, an aim, a goal. And pose is to position yourself. So it is to position oneself with thought, to intend and to propose, or to create a purpose, a position in which you're going to express yourself. That's what purpose is. You make that choice to get to that place by intending it and then taking action through. That's so purpose, if you will, is taking all these other things that we were talking about before, the map, the vision, the motivation, and you put it all into one package, and that's purpose. But purpose will disappear if you don't continue to feed those other pieces that we were discussing. So you gotta stay motivated. You gotta keep looking at your roadmap, and you gotta remind yourself of the vision. Is this making sense to everybody?
Go ahead and chat if you like. I know you're chatting anyway. That's great. Love it.
So vision it is a reflection of purpose, or rather the other way around. Purpose is the reflection of the vision. That's actually more accurate. Let me try to give you a picture word if you all can. So hopefully nobody's driving. If you need to, try closing your eyes for just a moment. But let me share with you an acronym. A laser. The word laser is actually, I know everybody knows what they are. We play with them. Cats love them. And they do a lot of wonderful work. But laser is an acronym that stands for light amplification by stimulated emission radiation. Wow, that's a big word right there. Look, it means this. You get this is how we create a laser. I'm an engineer by trade. You take a tube, you fill it up with a special gas. You take two mirrors and you seal that tube off with the two mirrors. Inside there, you ignite and stimulate that gas, and the electrons start to bounce in every direction randomly. Some of those will bounce off of these mirrors. When they do, these concave mirrors redirect the electrons to bounce back against the mirror on the opposite side of the tube. In the process, they collide with other electrons, which change the direction. The randomized direction all of a sudden becomes a little bit more directional. And over time, as these electrons keep bouncing back and forth, they pick up speed and they pick up direction. So more and more electrons start bouncing in conjunction with one another. And because they're moving in the same direction, they align in frequency, so they pick up speed to the point that there's so many of them that are lined up with one another. Then we can open up one of these semi-permeable mirrors and allow that energy to escape. We control the escape rate, and that's what gives you a laser that can light up a brick like a sun, that can cut metal, that can take an egg and peel off its shell and leave everything else intact, that can go into different parts of the body and do this miraculous work. And it's all because of these little electrons have been given each other direction by bumping against each other. And that's who we are. We are like these little electrons by our vision, by our personal purpose, by our desire of detoxification, our desire to find a place that we could live in harmony, in having common grounds, when I say common grounds, not just philosophically and spiritually, but physically, a ground that's common to all of us, that we can share, that we share tools, that we share a garden, that we share meals together, that we sit around like we did those 4 days in Florida. That is the aim. And so that's the aim for this laser. We are creating a laser together by working on this noble cause.
Yeah, I love that illustration of a laser, and I know everybody else does too. It's an incredible like word picture, right? The fact that we have this ability to amplify each other is something that I think is just profound. And I think, I know for myself, let me speak for myself, that it's just something that I'm discovering more and more. but I hear it amongst the conversation. So I think we're all kind of in that place where we're understanding just how much we can have that kind of energy flowing through us and then amplifying as we come together as like-minded people, and how, when we do that, there's something that is nearly beyond words as we experience it.
It's so true, and that's the thing that makes it magical, is when people align one with another, you find this great higher level of operation, and we see it all the time. When we have conversations, the next thing we know, we're going to these places of emotional bliss and being able to share our stories with one another. That's what really causes this excitement. So we all have a story to tell, but what's interesting is that our stories are uniquely connected one to another because our journeys are similar. And a lot of times the world, our upbringing, all these other things tell us that you are not unique, that you don't have a story to tell, that nobody's interested, or that very few people are interested. That I'm a kid that only my mama can love. But let me tell you that there is a quality that's unique about who you are. There is a quality. You can have a bunch of people that are similar in speech, in physique, in culture, and every single one of them are different, one from another. Somehow, everybody has a different way of looking at what's passionate to them.
And what's interesting to me is that as I consider that idea is that we have our individuality, but we also have this kind of oneness where we share our ability to have these conscious overlaps, so that we're hearing more and more about people who have like-minded passions. They're ignited to want to take, those passions with their motivation and put it in a direction that's going to help the planet, and to get behind these noble causes that we have. So I guess that's what I was thinking when you said that.
Okay. Well, another way of saying it or looking at it is a little bit gruesome and negative, but we all have hands, hopefully. And in each one of our hands, we have fingers, and we don't really consider any one of those fingers to be more important than the other. But so a lot of times we think of ourselves as not being unique. All right, well, which finger would you like to give up?
Good point.
Yeah, are you not willing to give it up only because of the pain? Or is it because that finger is actually important to you? It's pretty unique, right? All right, let's just back it off a little bit and say, okay, how much of that finger, not the whole finger, but how much of that finger would you like to give up? All right, then what about not just giving you a piece of that finger? How about just, 50% of the skin off of that one finger? Are you willing to give it up for no reason? So all of a sudden, you can start seeing the value there is in each little component of yourself. How many of your cells would you give up willingly? They are all, every one of them, working just fine right where they're at. There is no need to take them out and send them somewhere else. And every single one of us, regardless of how similar we may seem to one another, we are unique and we are working in where we need to be. We are the cells of this body, of this noble cause that we are creating. We need every single one of us. That's what's true.
Beautiful.
Thank you. So noble cause, now that you realize, hopefully that picture was clear enough, my attempt to tell you how unique you are is, the bigger question is, what are you here for? I'm not just asking, today, but it is also today. Just pause for a moment, everybody. Stop, typing away, and ask yourself, what are you doing here? There's a zillion different places that you could be. So what are you doing here? You're here because something is calling in your heart. There is a desire far deeper than just showing up because it sounds interesting to you. So then the better question is, what are we as individuals and as a group in the service for? When you ask that question, that becomes your compass for your everyday life. It's Steve Jobs who said that, ironically, passed away. He said that he had cancer, pancreatic cancer, that they gave him a very short period of time of life. When the doctor looked at it further, the doctor was crying. And the doctor was crying because the solution was simple. All we have to do is just remove it from your body and you'll be fine. And he went on to live a lot longer. Eventually, he died of cancer. But what that did is it changed him into the big why. He asked that question of himself every day. And what he said in his commencement speech is that if he asked a question more than, several days and the answer came back, unsecured answer, I would say, meaning it wasn't, I have passion, I am fired up over what I'm doing, then it was time to rethink everything about his life. So he would get up and ask, what am I in the service for? What is my purpose of life? Am I living the life that I want to? Am I enjoying it? And so let us remind ourselves, like I said in that video, let us remind our heart those moments that we experience with one another that caused a whole lot of passion to come forth and get us to this place where we're like, we have to do something about it. Well, we are. We're doing something about it. That's why we're here today. Finding a place, creating a noble cause that moves us forward so that we can answer this question. We are in the service for what? The key point is not agreement. It's not everybody has to think like Boyan. He might disagree if you ask him, but it's about alignment. We can agree, like Boyan said, everybody that's involved in the Costa Rica project should have their own detox journey and should at least know how to level 1 graduate. I can agree with that. I can align with that because that makes sense to me. Does that make sense to everybody else? That's an easy thing to align with. So we can see that, people are like, yeah, agreeing because that makes sense to all of us. That's what a noble cause is about. That's what a core value is about. Before we go any further, let's take a moment and I'm going to put another word picture in your mind. Think of a 3-legged table. Now, as you think of that 3-legged table, whether you make it round, rectangular, or triangular, I don't know. You can, in your mind, picture it somewhat stable. Now, all of a sudden, that table grows another leg. Now it's a 4-legged table. Maybe you change the shape of the top of the table. It doesn't matter. But that table has 4 legs, and it's more stable. All of a sudden, something else happens. That table, that 4-legged table, grows 4 more legs, and it's an 8-leg table. Can you see the stability once it doubles its contact points with the earth. The noble cause is the tabletop, and the legs are the core values. So get that picture. That will get you an understanding of what we're trying to do. Without a table, see, now that we have the table, we can create fellowship. We can do a lot of things with the table because it's stable. So hopefully that gives you a better idea of what we're trying to do here by creating a tribal culture that's aligned on a noble cause. So here it is. I want you to take a look at what is the noble cause that you guys helped create. The noble cause you helped create is something that we spent some time trying to distill, bonded by our passion. What's the thing that brings us together? Is the passion for detoxing for whatever reason, whether it is because you don't ever want to be sick or somebody in your family suffered. That was your commitment. Every one of us has our own individual story. That's the thing that binds us, the story of what we have passion for. We're bonded by our passion to create a legacy. A legacy is that which you leave behind. The legacy for who? For your family, for your children, for your grandchildren, for whoever it is that you want to leave the message that living this way as detox specialist or as somebody who loves to be healthy. Like I tell my kids, I plan to be around till I'm 120 years old. That's my plan. And then what's the legacy of conscious and healthy living? Is there anybody that you can think of in the world that would not want this? Because when it's all said and done, my favorite quote, because you know I can't go a day without talking about a quote. Let me share this one with you. Health in the body. When health is absent, wisdom cannot reveal itself. Art cannot manifest. Strength cannot fight. Wealth becomes useless, and intelligence cannot be applied. When you're really sick and you're hurting, as some of us have experienced, the last thing you want to do is sit down and have a dissertation, talk to somebody. Your money doesn't really matter. You're not really wise. You might be have some wisecracks about it, but you're not wise. And your strength, when you are depleted, it's tough to get out of bed. When it's tough to get out of bed, that's all the energy you have. That's a really sucky day. So you can see why anybody and everybody would want to align or be at least can agree to that. Oh, that sounds on the surface. I can align with that. So this we drew out of our interaction with one another, asking the questions and you guys pumping in information. Here's the noble cause. Now, one thing I want to tell you is that this noble cause is up for grab in the sense that, you know, if you can share with the tribe why it needs to be changed, then we want to hear about it. Absolutely. Now, as I said, that was the tabletop. The legs that support it, that's the next project, is creating something that makes sense, much like the noble cause, that is simple to understand, that we can agree upon. So the process that we are going to go into, and we already started, is important, and it should not be minimized. There is no hurry. Not on this. Not when it comes to core values. Not when it comes to being bonded by our passion to create a legacy of conscious and healthy living. Because we have to make it clear to each one of us that these anchor points are going to keep us safe and secure in the sense of relating one to another, that arguments, that differences are going to be easily resolved because we all operate out of core values, rather than to borrow the connotation, well, let's go ask Moses. He has the answer. This is not about Moses and his people leaving the desert or leaving Egypt. This is about all of us being kings and priests of our life, and the kings and the queens of our castles, all sharing the same domain.
One of the things.
So the core values are things that are non-negotiable. Think of them as fence posts, and the fence might be the rules that give a little bit, but the fence posts, once they're placed, they're designed to stay there permanently, and that's what a core value is. These are principles that make the day-to-day interaction with one another easy, because I can tell Boyan, Boyan, you need to do this and that and the other, and he can say, Hector, that does not align with our core values, nor does it support the noble cause. Or even if it seems to support the noble cause, but it does not agree on the core values of how we do things, then we have an impasse, and the core values are the ones that judge our action. So hopefully this is making sense to you. Every core value must align with the noble cause, and it will. Now, a core value is, the best way to put it is that a core value, here's a question to ask yourself. If we don't do this, what's the worth of living? As I was addressing the story about Mr. Jobs, Steve Jobs, that you should ask that question. You live better when you look at death clearly in the eyes, and you know that what I do every day, it's worth living. Going to a job, a senseless job, is not rewarding after a while. So what are we doing here? What are our values? What is the thing that takes your breath away? Can you wake up in the morning and absolutely get fired up over your life, that everything you're going to do that day is going to jack you up with excitement? That's a life worth living. A Spanish philosopher by the last name of Vigo said, unexamined life is not worth living. So let's examine our life and build a core of values that wake you up in the morning and go, yeah, this is what life is all about. So on the core values, what activities will express a core value if somebody's looking at you and they're observing you? Can they see the core values in your life? I submit to you that they can. It may not be exactly in line with what we speak in our mouth, but we live out what is valuable to us. When we have intention towards that value, and we create a constant reminder to ourselves, we then change, and then our behavior aligns with the new core values. What I'm saying is, in order to build a tribal culture, we agree on the core values, and then our activities begin to express those core values, which are aiming towards the noble cause. And in that process, people say, see, and hear that we are all talking the same language. Not that we are robots of one another, but we are always trying to help one another. Then you have a true tribe, rather than feign agreement about, because I get paid from this company, therefore I have to tell you this political agreeable thing. No, this is something that we live. This is something that we have passion towards. And then people go, yeah, these people are different. Or this tribe is different. All right. So now that we have the structure of a noble cause and a core value, we know that we have a table with 8 legs. How do we build those legs? Somebody's got to go out and do that. And that's the reason why we build triads, which we're going to get into more details. Triads are a relationship-based group that develop the strategies of the tribe. They are 3, as we shared the pictures and the intro. Think of a triangle or of a pyramid. It's a very strong structure. So a 3-position group of people that build other triads, and this is the strategy by which we, this is the cell group, if you will, of the body of the tribe, and to go out and work on specific projects that support the core values and the noble cause. So everybody has a job, or everybody has their own life that they're living right now. We have this noble cause. And, why should you stretch? For what reason should you be trying to be involved in something that sounds cool, but it's not putting any fruits on your table? Well, we keep stretching because if you don't, what is going to happen? You're going to be out there on your own? I want to shift for just a moment, reading off of the book, The Tribal Leadership, page 100. And they say that almost 50% of the population is in stage 3. A stage 3 language, a stage 3 tribal member is somebody that says, I'm great and you're not. Or, at the very least, fruitarians are great and everybody else is not. That's a stage 3 mentality. But here's the problem with stage 3 is that you run out of forward movement and high frequency. See, unlike people at stages 1 and 2, we talk about values. That's identifying people in stage 3. However, let me tell you that in the essence, your view of values is that gives you an edge in ethics and time management. Stage 3 people, so by according to this book, it says that there's 50% of us on this call that are at a stage 3. We focus on getting the edge, how to get better, time management. The downside of this behavior is that the values, like so much of stage 3, are personal and not empowering to anyone but oneself. For example, the net of these signs is that a stage 3 almost universally report they do not have enough time, don't get enough support, and are surrounded by people less able and dedicated than they themselves. So if you found yourself in there, welcome to the club. That is the language of a stage 3 person. That's why we need to stretch. That's why we need to reach out to create core values that it's supported by the tribe. The noble cause is more important than any one individual, yet at the same time, any one individual's issues are important to the whole tribe, because without that individual, we don't move forward. So our tribal foundation of core values is the world, and going in as deep as possible. Which world are we talking about? Our inner world, but it's also the external world, this planet. Because we are committed for that place, that we are bonded by our passion, we know that we are going to be, all of us, responsible in the process of detoxification, that we are all seeking our own spiritual mastery. We can agree with that without having to get dogmatic. That's why we're bonded by our passion, to create a legacy that people can look and go, wow, it is possible to have all these different of opinions and yet accomplish such a great thing. Core values support the noble cause, and we are all responsible detoxification specialists. Responsible means able to respond, not just go, somebody tell me how to do this.
Hector, I'm breaking in here. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Okay. I muted myself for a while because I guess there was some kind of strange feedback. So hopefully this is not happening now. But one of the things that we were talking about earlier, which was kind of just one of those connecting points for me, was we were talking about a lot of times people can have a noble cause that is fairly destructive. And we talked about, war in general, and then we talked about probably the greatest travesty in our times was Nazi Germany, in terms of people aligning to a noble cause that was so, it's just something we don't even like to fathom, the destruction that occurs there. But what happens is when you have core values that are very have got a lot of positivity to them, and they are beneficial for mankind and for the planet, then that creates a whole different kind of reason or direction in which we would take a noble cause. So a noble cause just for a noble cause does not necessarily mean that it's a great thing, but it's when it's backed by these core values that end up becoming the backdrop that keeps the purity, if you will, the grace of an authentic noble cause that has this beneficial aspect to it. So I wondered if maybe I just kind of run through some of the noble cause that we've come up with for our tribal project. Would that be okay with you?
Yeah, yes. Let me finish by telling you regarding the interpretation of what these core values, sometimes people interpret them as an agreement rather than something that's an alignment. So we're trying to change our language. And I'll close by just telling you that, you know what, Al-Qaeda says they exist for Islam, but that's only their interpretation of Islam. The mafia believes that you should have loyalty, but it's only their interpretation of loyalty. See, you're expected to have an agreement with their interpretation, not an alignment that's universal. And that's where the key difference is. So these are some of the things that you guys have shared with us, and that we talk about all the time. Go ahead, Carolyn.
Yeah, thank you. So let me get the screen on so everybody can be sharing what I'm going to be talking about here. Our tribal Foundation core values: escort the world in going as deep as possible into responsible detoxification and spiritual mastery, as we are bonded by our passion to create a legacy of conscious and healthy living. So the next slides, I'm just going to run through them fairly quickly, are a list of core values that we've been putting into a compilation that we would like everybody's input on, because we'll want to distill this list down into something, you know, I mean, you could probably list pages of core values, but we want to get it down to just a handful that really are the most meaningful for the Costa Rica project. So the first couple that we have here is: we love ourselves deeply while loving and helping others. We reclaim ancient tribal systems of sophistication, such as honor, integrity, and purposefulness, while enjoying one's life path. We have fun in everything we do. We express our love, courage, strength, kindness, and generosity to everyone we meet. We honor individual sovereignty and one's right to pursue happiness. We are egalitarian, eliminating the forces in society to separate and natural ways of living. We support the process of self-discovery whenever possible. We live in harmony with each other and all of nature. We embrace diversity and enjoy our differences. Through shared resources and experiences, we live happily and abundantly. We encourage creativity and innovation, improving our ability to be whole, enlightened beings. We create an environment for thriving. All proceeds go back to our noble cause. We know deep satisfaction when we prosper together. We live and work with our friends. We are a team. Our first order is to do no harm. Our first priority interest is to protect and provide for the tribal culture. We are self-governing and have no need for outside government. These are the noble causes, the core values, and these are things that we can continue to work on as a tribe and as a team. But they're things that will be aligning with our noble cause to keep our noble cause, at a level of I used the word earlier, purity, authenticity, something that is beneficial not only for ourselves and for our tribe, but for the world. And there are things that we want, these are core values that we want to live by every single day. They are who we are. Do you have anything you want to add to that, Hector?
Yeah, I like to add a little story out of page 179 in the book Tribal Leadership that is going to tug at our hearts, but it's also going to cause us to boil blood all at the same time. So while they were writing this book and they were consulting with a company called Amgen, which makes medicine, pharmaceutical medicine, a letter came in, and it was a letter from a father whose son had died of cancer. And he says, "Thank you, Amgen, because you created a drug that boosted my son's red blood count during chemotherapy. He was able to come home and spend the last days with us. We sat and we had pizza and sipped on beer for the first time together. And I just want to say thank you for that opportunity." So you can see the dichotomy. And so Amgen's CEO, by the last name of Binder, hand wrote a note and sent it out to all the employees. And this is what the note said: "We renew life." Many, obviously everybody got jacked up at the company, and they were all fired up because they were living their core values. Now, you tell me. Let's open up the mics, and let's hear what you have to say about this. Let's hear what core values we live by, because we have a better answer. Not trying to dismiss. I'm just saying that who does renew life? We do. How? Because we give life with life, right? So what do you guys think of the story? Bunch of scientists saying they renew life because one kid was able to have beer and pizza with his dad.
So Marco, can you open up the mics for people to talk? Is that a good thing for this technology to be able to do here? And what we, obviously.
Any words? Anybody?
I'm not sure if it's Marco. Are you there to? And is it good? Is it good for us to be able to have?
Elaine says that she doesn't agree. What don't you agree, Elaine? Let's hear it. Okay, you don't agree with the scientist. That's true. Neither do I. You know what? From their position, they believe they were doing something beautiful. And we know we could do something far more greater than that, right?
Yeah, pizza and beer, obviously it was to that father in that moment a special Last Supper with his son. But when we take what we know about health and life, and obviously we're not going to be aligned with chemotherapy, the idea is that, people can think that they're doing the right thing and still have this sort of destructive value, and you can get a whole company behind you. So one of the things that we're really wanting to take a lot of time as we build the foundation pieces for the Costa Rica project is to make sure that we've got a really good stated noble cause, and that the core values that come in behind it are going to keep us really true and upright, and provide the kind of balance and justice in the world that I think we all in our hearts know is the direction that we all need to be headed towards.
And Boyan makes a really good point, even though the subject that he's typing is different, but there's a great way of looking at things is that we don't need to, we get to. We get to walk this out together. We get to create this together. There is no we must do this, because it's the opportunity of having the pleasure of being a global community. We are a global tribe right now. People from different places in the world are coming together. We get to do this because we want to.
Okay, I'm not sure if it's not possible to open up the mic so that we can have question and answers and interaction until we get this part of it figured out. If you would send through your questions or comments, we'd like to, to spend some time with the group talking about what the subject matter has been today. And
so has this helped? That's the first question I have for you. Has this given you more meat or more understanding of what that tribe is about, what these values are? And Anita says, should our core values include plant-based diet and alkaline? Absolutely. So we submit these and we get to discuss them and put them in such a way, because that is a core value, is to be alkaline. Thank you, Anita.
So I would ask somebody to take some notes. If there's some things being put in the chat box there, somebody could take some notes about ideas that we can fold into these core values for further discussion with the tribe. And also, Marco says everybody has a mic, so I just want to make sure on a technology level that everybody sees on the upper menu, there's some icons, and one of them, the very first one, I believe, is a mic. If your mic is on, it will be green. If it's off, it will be gray. So if it's gray, just click on it. Should give you mic access if your computer allows for it. And if it doesn't, please, chat up. We'd like to hear from you. And tell us what you think about the noble cause, core values, some of the illustrations, like the table that Hector was talking about.
Yeah, can I just, hi everyone, can I just add two things. First of all, what Jennifer is saying here about going to the Level 2 Facebook group, because Jason's done a really great mind map. Have a look at that. And secondly, just to add what Carolyn has said, there's a mic button. There's also a webcam, a mic and cam button. After you click it, it should go green. If it doesn't go green, check just above it, or somewhere on your browser when you click it. If it's the first time you're doing it, it will ask if you want to allow access, and you need to click yes to proceed.
Thank you, Stacy. I'm seeing. I haven't been able to really keep up with all the chatting that's going on, but I'm kind of getting in there now. And I see, Stacy, thank you for sharing this book with 3 people in our group. And I just want to encourage everybody, if you haven't bought the book, we're just asking for a greater level of commitment that you would begin to study this on your own. Last week, we proposed the idea of saturating yourself with these keywords and concepts so that we can create a tribal culture language that we all kind of know when we're talking about stage 3 or stage 4 language, that we don't necessarily have to explain what that means. Everybody's on board and understands, so that we can move together with the same language down the path that we're carrying this vision together, so that we're just so much more effective and in the flow together with each other. Loving seeing everybody's pictures coming up who's able to get their webcam up and turn on the mic. Thank you, Jennifer, for...
Can you hear me?
Hey, yeah. I hear a soft voice coming through.
Let me see if I can turn it up. Is that better?
Right.
I haven't used this before.
Well, beautiful to have you here. Everybody, Hilda, and I've seen Hilda's here, Jennifer, for Stacy and Brittany. Thank you all. Elaine, going up the scroll here, seeing who all's been talking and chatting up. All right. Yeah, did everybody know Hilda's going to Florida? She's heading out of Norway and heading down into the peninsula state of Florida, where she's going to catch some warmth and some hopefully some good fruit. I haven't heard a lot of reports yet about what's going on down there with the fruit. If it's good this year or not, but hopefully it's vine ripe and picked fresh. Anybody have any questions, any comments as you're working through this material? Tribal culture, what does that mean to you? One of the things that's really important for us is that we are able to capture what your passions are and And, with the motivation that you have, help us with the direction of this Costa Rica project. We're a team. We want to form this sense of that we're a tribe in action, and we're doing this together. This isn't about Hector or Carolyn or Bohan or Marco or any one of us individually. It's us together. So we want to continue to create this sense that we're a we tribe. There was a couple of things that Hector and others have said. Did you catch the one that we tribe vibe? We vibe as a tribe. I love that.
I like that.
I think it was Trey last week who said, we are the people we've been waiting for. And I think that when we all got in that room at level 2, oh my gosh, did we not know that? I mean, it was like we're the vibe tribe that we're the people that we've been waiting for, and we just, I think, just all sensed it. It goes back to that idea that Hector was saying earlier about being a laser. It was like the amplification going on as our little electrons were bouncing off of each other and giving a reflection of who we know we are. It just was, and so that's what we want to continue to recreate over and over again, or just keep stimulating it, keep reflecting, keep working together. And as we're able to do that, we're going to create this legacy that Dr. Morris really has set us on fire to do. Take the message even farther and deeper into the world. Are you on mic, Marco?
Hey, Carolyn, I want to ask you a question here.
Yeah.
So, were I under the impression of having some kind of retreat this year?
Yes. People were saying, what kinds of things are we going to be doing together? And certainly we, came out of 2014 into 2015, and we're looking at 2015 and saying, well, actually, what are we going to do this year together? Well, there's a tremendous amount of infrastructure that's being worked on, and we want to invite everybody to participate in that. But there's already been a lot being done. But then beyond that, what kind of playgrounds can we create to get together? And I know that Dr. Morris was saying that he's going to have a level 1 in April. There's been some question as to whether there's going to be a level 2, and we were thinking, well, how can we, maybe get together? So ultimately, in our big vision, we'd like to have a big old fat conference, 3 days of just international big, just big, huge thing. But, it's going to take a little bit of time for us to continue to form together as a group, as a team. So we thought of having a summit. So that was one of the things that we're talking about developing as a summit. And then I really would love to see us do at least 1 retreat. I'd really like to see us do 2. That may be
Personally, I don't want to burst the bubble, but I have no idea how you guys see a retreat happening at all. Where are you gonna do it? How are you gonna do it? If it's some kind of mini thing, but still, I think all the time and energy should be focused into infrastructure of the tribe and actual infrastructure, putting something out there. Like, I think the main thing is having some sort of presentation that if we were to do a summit or anything like that, it'd be also our job to kind of market and get investors to come to that summit. And then after that all is said and done, we would have to have some kind of presentation for them. So that would be the main thing, because the first thing that we do need to even put some kind of infrastructure there is capital. Like, I see. Hey.
Yeah.
Can you hear me?
So I love what you're talking about, and I want to invite people to. That's what I was saying earlier. Talk to us about what your passions are. Talk to us about what you're really highly motivated to see happen, and let's entrain that energy and direct it so that we can actually get these things, get our legs and our foot, under us, get our footwork going, and let's take this down the road. So in keeping with tribal culture, tribal language, what we'll be going over next week is to give that introduction to what a triad is and how to network the triads. A triad obviously is going to be a 3-person team, and what we would like to see happen then is for us to form three-people team who, let's say, for instance, want to work on the infrastructure, want to work on a summit, want to work on a retreat. And we could take 3 or 4 triads, network those together, take different aspects of whatever the mini project is, and begin to make it happen. So with that in mind, Boan, can you take your thoughts a little bit further and think about what would that triad networking look like?
Well, that's why it would be awesome because, think about this, how many detox specialists there are that were trained by Dr. Morse himself. It would be really nice to get some of the ones that are having even personal retreats, just kind of get into connection with them and see how somehow we can get involved with that, or how they can help us in a sense. It doesn't have to be even a financial thing. It could be just the word of mouth. If we have a pamphlet they can they can hand out, help this project that we're putting together. This is my retreat, but I'm also helping this project here that's a part of the tribe that I'm in, So something in that kind of sense. Hopefully people understand.
Yeah, and so one of the things that we're looking to do is try to get people out of that stage 3 mindset, which is this is my retreat and I need help with my retreat, even though I'm going to give some of a big donation to a project, or like our project or something, which we would love, of course, but even more what we would love is that we collaborate with that team so that one person in particular doesn't necessarily, stand out as the one who
on the pedestal.
Is on the pedestal. We want everybody to be able to get credit, not to put one person in the limelight. Obviously, there's going to be certain people who have better presentation skills, and so naturally they're going to be out a little bit more in front. But that person is always going to be giving credit back to the people who are standing behind them on the podium, if you will, because it isn't just about them being up on stage. It's about how we're all doing this work together, and it takes a team. And we can go ahead.
Isn't that kind of like I think, was it you or whoever I talked to, one of us, we talked and we said, for even the tribe voting, you can have where, okay, well, you're this tribe, but here's your triad, sort of say, even in the tribe, and then you pick one person, okay, well, you know what, you're going to go today and vote for this certain thing that we're voting on. It doesn't have to be everybody, because within you can, okay, this one's saying yes, yeah, okay, our triad has decided yes, we're going to vote yes, right?
Right. So as we're building this infrastructure, and we're talking about...
Can I just interject real quick? I just want to say something that when I talked to Shannon a couple of days ago, a week ago or something like that, I did mention something about a summit, and she was the impression that it would be the best to do it after the level 1 class, since in November not too many people want to take a vacation or want to come out of the country, say if you wanted to have an investor come out of the country, because they'd be saving their trip for Christmas time and even I think Thanksgiving in the States and stuff like that. That's what she was saying. So she thought that it'd be better to have it then. Well, obviously, I mean, if we cannot plan it out.
Right. And so just to bring anybody else who is in on that conversation, please feel free to speak up. What the concern there is obviously what you just said. It starts brushing up really close to the holidays, and people are redirecting their monies towards the holiday gift giving and travel and whatnot. So she was of the mind that it would not necessarily be good to attach a summit on the back side, but maybe instead have the summit be the evening activity. So when they break at 4 o'clock in the afternoon, then we come in and we have like a big fruit buffet dinner kind of thing or whatever we want to do, and then have workshops, masterminds, round tables, triad work, maybe have something where we're watching one of these really great documentary movies together and then discussing it. I mean, there's all kinds of ideas of what we can do together. Maybe have some vendor booths set up with products and services that align with the topic, obviously, of a level 2. Anyway, you get the idea, and I think that's what has already been started to be discussed. And if that lights you up and you want to be a part of that, if you've ever been a part of a summit or some kind of conference or seminar where you know about registration, you know about how to put together a food plan, if you know how to provide the entertainment, get the speakers and the platforms and the seating, anything that you know or have experience or even you're willing to learn or jump in and help us get that figured out, that's how we work as a team. Thank you, Bohan, for bringing that up. Any more discussion about that? I mean, please jump in. I don't want to be the only one talking here. But I do want to kind of get you caught up with what some of the conversations are and have been.
Hey, can you hear me?
So for those of you who do like the idea of a retreat, we're forming our first triad for that. We'll see what the time frame is that we can do it, but we're at least going to start in on the conversations to try to get some foundation pieces laid, because there are a number of people who like the idea of gathering in a retreat, taking their clients, family, friends, or even themselves down into, let's say, Costa Rica, where the climate and the fruit availability and whatnot is all in the, just the beauty is there to do a great detox together. We're forming our first triad. We're going to meet on Tuesday, and right now it's Brittany, Natalie, and myself. I'm involved in quite a few triads right now, so I'm looking for people who can replace my position in these triads. I'm participating in so many right now just to get them going, but we really need everybody to jump in and to get to, be at work. I want to encourage everybody to come next week to the webinar so that we can talk a little bit more in depth about triad and triad networking to get everybody kind of on the same page. But for right now, hopefully you understand well enough what I'm talking about. Basically just talking about little teams. I want to also go back to what Bohan was saying about when we're working in these triads. What we would do is we've got kind of an infrastructure laid out as to how to meet as a triad. And one of the first lines of business is to identify somebody who would act, just for lack of a better term, as a chairperson, and then have a co-chair and then a third person be, available. Maybe they haven't ever been involved much in working on a team or a committee, so they would begin to learn, and then eventually they could be a chairperson or a co-chairperson, with the idea that the co-chairperson would then bring a report to the to the group about what the triad is actually accomplishing, what kinds of research has been done, what kind of options are out there, and then the decision can go out in terms of like what are we actually going to decide to do based on the work that the triad has done. Does that make sense, Bohan? Does that answer your question or comment about that? Oh, we lost Bohan?
Bohan left. Yeah, he had to go.
Okay.
Hey, can you hear me?
Okay, what else is...
Carolyn, can you hear me?
What else? I've kind of lost track of what's going on in the chat.
And it's hard to listen and watch the chat, too. Was that Marco?
Yeah, can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Carolyn, can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Yeah, I just wanted to give us like a few-minute warning because I think Big Marker will shut us down. I think it gives an extra 30 minutes, so we might want to think about moving to Skype or anything or something.
Okay, thank you very much. So what's been happening since the very first time we had our hangout in Big Marker is that we had a meeting after the meeting. And what we want to do is just take this interaction and discussion beyond the webinar. And so we go to Skype. So anybody who still has time and an interest, let us know, maybe set it up there in the chat so we can make sure that is that the way it works, Marco? Is that somebody will initiate a Skype call and then we'll make sure everybody gets called in?
Yeah, you'll call. I need you to call me, Carolyn, because I have somebody I need to speak to quite soon, unfortunately. But if you call me, then when I go, then the call won't collapse.
Okay. So anyway, let us know if you want to come into the Skype call. We'll be winding this up. Hector, do you have any last-minute parting words that you would like to say? Or any of us, any of you, any of all of us? Brittany?
Hector, you're an excellent teacher. Thank you very much. Thanks.
Thank you. I'm starting to affectionately call it Hector Ease. He's got a way with language and with words and word content and pictures. It's great.
Yeah, very easy to understand and relate to.
Yeah.